Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to the Walkthrough Radio Show. Kevin Walker and Jason Collins right here on Never Had It So Good Sports Radio. We're happy you're here with us. We got a lot of great stuff to talk about, a lot of NFL today as we get closer and closer to football season. K Walk, how you doing
Sir.
today, brother? What's going on?
All is well, Jay. All is well. Winding down this second week of preseason football. Like we you and I talked off air. Looking forward to the real deal. Looking forward to regular season for sure. But let's have a great one as well.
Yeah, man. Yes, sir. We know the NFL's coming, but I'll tell you what, that Penn State fight song in our introduction, man, that got me a little pumped up, K Walk. I'm not gonna lie, man. So I can't wait for this college season to kick off too. But K Walk, before we get into our topics, I gotta ask you, man, your
Yes, sir.
Yankees, what's going on in New York, man? Worst record in baseball the month of August. Talk to me, K Walk. How you feeling about those
I,
Yankees?
I'm panicking, man. I'm panicking. I know the last time you asked me, I was like, yeah, we're not pushing that panic button yet. But yeah, we're panicking right now here in New York, man. Hard to put the finger on it, Jay. It just all just disappeared at once, man. I don't know what it is. I knew they were going to come down to earth, meaning they were going to play. I thought they were just going to play at least 500 baseball at best. I mean, at worst. But this is 4-14 in the month of August, man, and they're only up 7 games. It's getting tight. It's getting close quick, man. And yeah, they got to turn it around, Jay. We can't put our finger
Yeah.
on it. We just don't know what it is, man.
Yeah, I've been kind of keeping an eye on it, but look, man, they're still in first place, so there's still some positives there. But
Yeah.
hopefully they'll get things turned around, man. But all right, let's get into it, K Walk. We said
Yes, sir.
football season is just about here. I want to talk about some teams, man. I picked a few teams, and I want you to tell me what percent chance do you think they have of winning the Super Bowl this year? We'll go 0 to
Mhm.
100. And let's start, man. Let's start with the defending champs, the Rams.
Yeah.
Kind of caught lightning in a bottle last year, win the Super Bowl. A lot of things went right for them. How do you see it playing
Mhm.
out, K Walk? If you had to guess, man, what percentage chance do you give them to repeat and win the Super Bowl?
Jay, you kind of made me go back to one of my my math classes here, man, back in TU, where I had to like, how do I figure this out? How do I come up with a percentage? Because I don't want it to be too high, I want it to be too low. But
Right.
I looked at who where they were at, and as far as the odds are for them winning the Super Bowl, and then I threw that in the percentage. I carried the one, all that good stuff, man. with all that being said, Jay, with all that being said, I'm going to say the Rams have, based off of the math that I did, I think the Rams have an 8% chance of winning the Super Bowl. I mean, I do believe we don't know what Matt Stafford. We know he's dealing with that elbow injury. He's kind of downplaying it right now, but I do like them coming back. They're without OBJ this year, but they did pick up Allen Robinson. They still have Cooper Cup as well. And of course, they have that defense led by Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey and those guys as well. And then, of course, you got McVay over there as well, leading that crew. So I'm going to say they have an 8% chance to win the Super Bowl.
K Walk, I love it, man. Ladies and gentlemen, K Walk is not just going to throw a number out there. He's going to put his homework in. Because number one,
Yes.
it's hard to win the Super Bowl, period. And then when you
Mhm.
factor in that they won last year, how hard is it to repeat? All those little things.
Yeah.
K Walk, at 8%, I mean, people are probably looking at that thinking it's low, but I think it's
Yeah.
realistic when you really stop and think about it. All right, man, let's go to the Super Bowl loser. We know history tells us that when
Yeah.
you lose in the Super Bowl, very rarely do you come back
Yeah.
and have a very good season. So let's talk about those Bengals. What percent chance do you have for the Bengals?
Well, I like them coming back. They tasted, they tasted just the big stage, if you will. They were 3 points away from winning it all. A lot of people didn't have them, going to the Super Bowl, making the playoffs. But Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, those guys, that offensive line was kind of shaky, but they made it work. They still were able to get to the Super Bowl. I think they improved a little bit on the offensive line to give a little bit Joe Burrow a little bit more time to get the ball downfield, which he loves to do. with Chase and also Higgins as well. I think Higgins is going to have a breakout season this year. And that defense is kind of underrated. They play well. But with that being said, I'm going to say I have the Bengals at a 7.7% chance of winning the Super Bowl. And that's the exact number I came up with, ladies and gentlemen. So like you said, Jay, it's hard to get back there. It's hard to repeat. And especially with the AFC West, looking at the way that they look right now, it's going to be a really tough road to hoe for the Bengals, but I'm going to give it again 7.7% chance.
All right, I love it, K Walk. Let's go to my Dallas Cowboys. I know Princess Cooper is listening, so I want to get the Cowboys in before she has to run off to church or something like that, because we definitely want to
She
know
might be in
where
church.
you
She
have
might be
our
in
Cowboys. Yeah, you never know. So, what percent chance do you give my Cowboys, K Walk, to win the Super Bowl? It's been a long time coming.
Yeah. Yeah, Jay, I kind of throw that out the window, man, because I think every team is due at some point. We talked about the Bengals and we didn't see that happening, but Cowboys haven't been in a while in the talk in a while, and especially the way that they lost last season, as far as that mental mistake, as far as the end of the game and how that played out. But Jay, I just we talked about the Cowboys earlier in this in the summer, and I just don't think they have enough firepower. That can change. Some guys can step up. I understand that. But from the receiver standpoint, you got CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee Lamb is a star in the making. Then you have Washington, who's going to be out for a while. I believe he's going to miss the first 4 games, if I'm not mistaken. And then you have Michael Gallup, who may miss the first game of the season. But with that being said, Jay, I give the Cowboys, because I don't think they're going to win the division. I still think the Eagles are going to win the division, so I'm giving them a 4.76% chance to win the Super Bowl. Again, that's 4.76% chance to win the Super Bowl, Jay.
All right, so that's been our lowest number so far today. Let's jump to a team, K Walk, where I'm guessing this might be one of the higher numbers that we see today. The Buffalo Bills. I think a lot of people have them penciled in to represent the AFC this year. They look phenomenal. They blew the doors off of somebody yesterday. I know it's only preseason, but man, they just look like they are ready to go. Talk to me about the Bills. What percent chance do you give them to win the Super Bowl?
Yeah, Jay, you mentioned the Bills yesterday. They put up 42, I believe. Forget who they played as well, but Josh Allen looked in midseason form. They looked well. Stephon Diggs as well. They arguably have one of the best offenses in the league, and you can say they have the best defense in the entire league as well. So I love, with the addition of Von Miller and that offense, and Josh Miller's going. I think he's just going to take that next step and be a legitimate candidate for MVP. So with all that being said, I got him at a 12% chance of winning the Super Bowl. I think they were probably the favorite to come out of the AFC for sure. So I got him at 12% here, Jay.
Yeah, man, I like it. I like the Bills. The more I watch Josh Allen, the more I'm impressed with this kid, man. That first year, there were a lot of questions about him. He took some chances, did some things that made you kind of scratch your head. But, man, he's really coming to his own. And that Bills team, I mean, on both sides of the ball, they look really good, man. Yes. So I like their chances as well. Let's jump over to the Chiefs, man. I the other night, I said I felt like they were going to fall off. I think you agreed with me. Patrick Mahomes, he got me a little nervous yesterday because, like you said, he looks like he's in midseason form. He was literally toying with the defense yesterday, throwing the ball just from all different kind of crazy arm angles and just looked like he was on the playground, K-Walk. But talk to me about the Chiefs. What percent chance do you give them to win the Super Bowl?
Yeah, I like the Chiefs too, and I like Patrick Mahomes still, as we talked about on Friday. I like him being the best in that division, and that's arguably the top 4. You can argue that those top 4 quarterbacks in that division are the top 4 in the entire game itself. I think we talked about Tyreek Hill being being traded to the Dolphins. but I think that kind of is a blessing in disguise for the Chiefs, if you will, because I think they still have Travis Kelce, who's arguably the best tight end in the game, but I think it gives Patrick Mahomes a little bit more focus to spread the ball around, and that might be a little difficult for teams to deal with, especially when he's not focusing on a Tyreek Hill going deep all the time, or or Travis Kelce short as well. So with that being said, I'm giving them a 9% chance to win the Super Bowl here. I mean, I still, like I said, I still have the Chargers winning that division. Obviously, have the Bills coming out of the AFC West. I mean, the AFC. But I do like the Chiefs here at a 9% chance to win it all.
Yeah, man, I like it. And I agree. I do think sometimes when you lose that go-to guy, that superstar wide receiver, it almost forces your quarterback to kind of, I mean, play within the offense maybe a little bit more,
Yeah.
go through your progressions a little bit more. So I do think maybe from that standpoint, Patrick Mahomes is going to be spreading the ball around a little bit more, and it gives the opportunity for some other guys to step up. All right, K-Walk, let's do two more, man. I'm going to end with your 49ers. So let's do the Green Bay Packers right here. Aaron Rodgers, we know he lost one of the best receivers, if not the best receiver in football.
Yeah.
What's it going to look like for the Packers this year? What percent chance do you give them to win it all?
Yeah, Jay, with losing Devontae Adams, like you stated, I think it's the best receiver in the game itself. He was kind of, Aaron Rodgers was kind of critical with his receivers play or lack thereof, and he called them out, and then they ultimately had a meeting. Some of these guys have to step up, for sure. With that being said, Jay, I don't know if they're going to be enough, but you can't, just like Patrick Mahomes. Aaron Rodgers still has the ability to not have to focus on that main guy. He can spread the ball around, and sometimes that can help your offense out a lot more than having that stud receiver. So with all that being said, I'm gonna give him a 5.9% chance to win the Super Bowl. I still think they're one of the favorites in the NFC West. I mean, in the NFC period. Especially when you have an Aaron Rodgers, you always have a chance. But them losing Devontae Adams is really going to be hard to replace for sure, though.
Yeah, man, 100% agree. I think that production is going to be very difficult to replace. But like you said, you got Aaron Rodgers, you always have a chance for sure.
Yeah.
All right, man, let's go out to the Bay. Your 49ers, a
Yep.
new man at the helm. They turned the keys over to the
Yeah.
young QB. What do you have to say about your 49ers, man? What percentage?
Yeah, you know what, Jay? It's not as high as everyone thinks it's going to be because it's the jury is still out on Trey Lance. It really is. I mean, we're
Yes,
still going to,
yes.
he has the pieces around him. There's no question. He has a top 5 defense, playing on the other side. He has the weapons with Debo, with Elijah Mitchell, with George Kittle, Ayuk. The list goes on and on there. But it's all about Trey Lance and his play. So until we have the utmost confidence in him. Don't get me wrong, but we just don't know right now because there's such a small sample size, not just in the NFL, but in his career in general, for sure, and especially in college. So with that being said, I'm going to give the Niners a 6% chance to win the Super Bowl this year. I just think that it's all predicated on Trey Lance, and you can say that about any team and any quarterback, but for this particular team, it's all about Trey Lance this year.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I think what Trey does is going to determine how the 49ers play this year. If he's great, I think with that roster around him, they've got an
Yeah,
outstanding chance to go very far in the
for
NFC.
sure.
If he's inconsistent, if he's shaky, then I think that's going to kind of bring the 49ers
Yeah,
down. So it's going to be very interesting to watch his
for
development
sure.
throughout the season. All right, good stuff there, K Walk. That was great, man. Before we grab our first break, and we're not going to spend a lot of time on this, ladies and gentlemen, because we've talked about Deshaun Watson ad nauseum on
Yeah.
a lot of different shows, but we
Mhm.
now have the final verdict, or at least what seems to be the final verdict. K Walk,
Yeah.
11 games, $5 million fine. Your final
Yeah.
thoughts on this whole Deshaun Watson saga?
Yeah, I'm for one glad it's over with. It's settled. It's put to bed, if you will, for this particular situation. Um, as I stated on Friday, man, I changed my my thoughts and opinions on Deshaun. For sure, I thought that what he put those women through was unacceptable, man, and just not a good look for him or for anyone in that matter. But 11 games, 5 million. Still think it's kind of light. But I think all sides are happy with that. The women are compensated. I don't know, if that can help them out from an emotional standpoint, but I think they got what they asked for, meaning from the money standpoint, ladies and gentlemen, excuse me, from a money standpoint. And then Deshaun Watson, he understands, he was wrong in this matter, even though he presumed his innocence for the most part. But I'm glad it's over. 11 games, 5 million. Still think it's a little light, but as long as both parties are happy, then let's move on and let's play some ball.
Yeah, man. Like you, I would have been fine with a full season. I thought he
Yeah,
would have got a full season. So when that first
yeah,
6 games came out, I scratched my head a little bit on that. 11
for sure.
games feels closer to the right amount, but like you said, I still feel like it's a little bit light. But again, at least we've got a final verdict on this thing.
Yeah,
Hopefully, everybody can kind of move forward and start the healing process here, and then we'll
exactly.
just kind of see how this thing plays out for Deshaun Watson on the football field once he's able to come back and start playing some
Yes, sir.
football. All right, let's grab a
Yes, sir.
break here, K Walk. When we come back, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to give you our top 3 coach quarterback combinations in NFL history. And then we're also going to do our running back Mount Rushmore. So that's going to be a lot of
Ooh.
fun. We'll get into that when we get back. You're listening to The Walkthrough with Kevin Walker and Jason Collins right here on Never Had It So Good Sports Radio. We'll be right back. Welcome. Welcome back. Welcome back. You're listening to The Walkthrough with Kevin Walker and Jason Collins on Never Had It So Good Sports Radio. All right, K Walk, let's talk some quarterbacks and coaches, man. I hear people say it all the time. If you're going to win, you got to have the right coach, and you
Yes, sir.
definitely have to have the right quarterback. So let's talk about the top 3 quarterback coach combinations in NFL history. I feel like we're probably going to have some overlap here, K Walk, but let's see what you
All
came
right.
up with, man. Give me your top 3.
All right, number 3. I'll start with number 3. This duo, man, they won. I mean, they were the 70s. They were all about the 70s. 4 Super Bowls together, 121 wins total. And I'm referring to Chuck Noll and Terry Bradshaw. Those guys were just a dynasty in the 70s, man. I mean, you really couldn't touch them. They won back-to-back titles twice. They won 4. They went back-to-back at one point, and they went back-to-back at later on. So I like Chuck Noll and Terry Bradshaw here at number 3. Number 2 is going to sound a little biased, but I like it. I'm taking quality over quantity. Excuse me, and I'm going with Bill Walsh and Joe Montana, even though they only had 102 wins together, but they had 3 Super Bowls, and then they won, and they won it in a grand fashion. Loved everything about the late great Bill Walsh and Joe Montana. Joe Montana was arguably at one point the greatest quarterback of all time, but I think Brady kind of ran away with that. So with that being said, number 1, I'm going to go with Bill Belichick and Tom Brady. I just think that if you're looking at this and you understand the game and you understand the history of the game, this has to be a no-brainer, in my opinion. They won 249 games total combined and 6 Super Bowls together. I mean, there's some teams that haven't won some franchises haven't won 6 Super Bowls total, and they won 6
Yeah.
Super Bowls together. So again, I'm going 3 Chuck Noll, Terry Bradshaw, 2 Bill Walsh and Joe Montana, and 1 Belichick and Brady.
Yeah, man, that's a great list. I knew we would have some overlap because I got Brady and Belichick at number 1 as well. All the reasons you said, that's just going to be very difficult for someone to put anybody else over them,
Right.
whether you like them or not. You cannot
Right.
argue with what they accomplished. So Brady and Belichick are at the top for me. Like you, I also went with Montana and Walsh, man. Just outstanding what they did. And like you said, didn't maybe have the
Yeah.
length of time together, but what they got done in that period of time,
Exactly.
phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
Number 3 was tough, man, because I wrote 2 names on my
Mm-hmm.
list. I had Chuck Noll and Terry Bradshaw. And then I
Okay.
also had Dan Reeves and John Elway.
Okay. Okay.
So I'm going back and forth here, and I'm thinking, even if you give Chuck Noll the edge in the coaching department over Dan
Yeah.
Reeves, I feel like Elway is the better quarterback over
Right.
Bradshaw. So I'm kind of going back and forth. You're right, man. The Steelers dominated the 70s with those 4 Super
Hmm.
Bowls. I credit some of that to those great defenses, though, man. So I
Okay.
went the other way at number 3. I went
Okay.
Dan Reeves and John Elway, a couple of Super Bowls together. You could even maybe argue that they underachieved a little bit, but I'm going to
Yeah.
go Dan Reeves and Elway as my third coach QB combination. What do you think about Reeves and
Okay.
Elway, King Walt?
No, I like it, man. I really do like it. Actually, I forgot about them, man. Actually, I was going back and forth with Nolan Bradshaw and possibly Tomlin and Roethlisberger, but
Yeah.
Roethlisberger and his off-field annex kind of threw that out of there. But yeah, so that's why I went with no. But yeah, I love it, Jay. I actually love it. I forgot all about Reeves and Elway. And Elway's one of my top 10 quarterbacks of all time. So I missed that one, but great pickup though for sure.
All right, man. Let's jump over to some running backs, man. The Mount Rushmore of running backs. For me,
Yeah.
one guy was easy, and then picking the
Yeah.
other 3, it was kind of hard,
Thank
man,
you.
because you can go a lot of different ways depending on like, are you just focusing on a great runner? Are you looking at
Yeah.
versatility, catching the ball out of the backfield? Like,
Yeah.
how good was their offensive line? Like, there's a lot of different factors you can put into this thing, man. So I can't wait to see who you came up with. I know we both definitely have one guy the same on the
Yeah, for
list,
sure. For
but
sure.
let's hear it, K Walk. Give me your Mount Rushmore NFL running backs.
Yeah, and when after I give this or we give our Mount Rushmore, I would love to hear the feedback from our listeners, both on the radio and on YouTube. Please comment and let us know what you think and what your Mount Rushmore would be. So with that being said, I guess the obvious Jay is Barry Sanders. I mean, you can't go wrong. We both agree that he's the greatest of all time. And 15,269 yards. He had 99 touchdowns, 10 receiving touchdowns in his career. He ranks 4th all time on the NFL rushing list, but he did end his career kind of early, and I think that had
Yes.
he, I don't know if he's be number 1, but I think he'll definitely be in a top 2 or top 3 for sure. So I like Barry Sanders there. That's a no brainer in my opinion. Now this was where it started to come. The next guy I have is the guy that I have on my all time list. Man, I just love this guy for everything that he brought to the table as far as his versatility and the backfield and receiving as well. And that's Marshall Faulk. And I thought
Mm,
Marshall Faulk is one of the smoothest runners, great receiver out of the backfield for sure. 12,279 yards, 100 touchdowns rushing, 36 receiving touchdowns. He only ranks 12th on the all-time list. But when I look at this guy and I look at his body of work and what he was able to do, and just a game changer and the mismatches that he created as well, I went with him. Next guy was probably one of the smoothest runners that I've seen in a long time. His 2,000-yard rushing season was phenomenal, and I'm talking about the one Eric Dickerson.
mm.
13,259 yards rushing, 90 touchdowns total. He had 6 receiving touchdowns in his career. He ranks 9th all time on the list as far as rushing list. But I went with Eric Dickerson. I just think when you think running backs, he's one of the first guys that you think of. Just like you always say it, Jay, his up style of running and the smoothness that he had, the goggles, even the Jerry curl, man. Even the Jerry curl when he had it back in the day. Um, last guy is Walter Payton. Sweetness, man. I think when you look at him and what he was able to do. I mean, his numbers are phenomenal, and he had 16,726 yards receiving. I mean, rushing. Excuse me, 110 yards, 110 touchdowns, 15 receiving touchdowns, and he ranks number 2 all time on the all time rushing list. So I went with Walter Payton. So again, I went with Barry Sanders. I went with Marshall Faulk, Eric Dickerson, and Walter Payton.
That's a great list, man. And K Walk, you were not afraid to put some people on the list that maybe a
Nope.
lot of people, especially maybe some old timers, would not
Mm-hmm.
have on their list.
Right.
Because I remember before when you and I were just choosing between Emmett and Barry, people were in the comments talking about Walter Payton, Walter Payton. I'm like,
Yeah.
he wasn't even part of the question. Calm down, ladies and gentlemen. So I was like, man, if K Walk don't put Walter Payton on this list, people are going to come for him for sure. But yeah, man, that's a great list. just like you, I got Barry Sanders. For me,
Mm-hmm.
he's just the guy for me. When I watch Barry Sanders, he did things that nobody else could do. If you would have put him behind a half decent offensive line, I think he would own every record related to running backs in football. So Barry Sanders, that's my number one guy. At number two, I did put Walter Payton, and he might even be a
Okay.
little bit high for me. I like Walter. Going back,
Mm-hmm.
watching some of the highlights, just a tough physical runner. You mentioned that he's number two on the all-time list, so you can't even
Mm-hmm.
argue with his accomplishments. Stylistically, is he my favorite back? No, not really. But
Right.
again,
Right.
can't really argue with what he did. I went with Jim Brown at number three, man. Obviously, he was
Okay.
before our time. We did not really get to
Mm-hmm.
watch Jim Brown play live. But if you listen to people talk about this guy and just how dominant he was and the way he just, nobody could tackle this guy, another guy that ended his career early, or who knows, what other accomplishments he would
Exactly.
have added to
Exactly.
his long list already. So I got Jim Brown at number three. Number four was hard, man. I wrote down like five names. I got Adrian Peterson. I got
Oh,
Eric
wow.
Dickerson. I got OJ Simpson. I got Gale
Okay.
Sayers. I'm trying to choose between that crew. But like you, K Walk, I just like Eric Dickerson, man. I like
Mm-hmm.
his running style. It was something about him. And maybe it was because he came up at a time when, we were young kid, in the late 80s, really into
Right.
football.
Mm-hmm.
And he just came on the scene, and it was just something about him, man. That the upright running
Right.
style, the horse collar, the goggles.
Yes.
You mentioned the Jerry curl,
Mm-hmm.
man. Just something about ED that I really like, man. So I got
Yeah.
Dickerson at number four. So I got Barry, Walter Payton, Jim Brown, and Eric Dickerson. But man, there's
Okay.
some great
Okay.
ones that could not be on that list.
Yeah, yeah. You mentioned one of my favorites of all time, and that's OJ. OJ and Gale Sayers are two of my favorite as well. Gale Sayers had a shortened career. OJ was this he was a monster, man. I'm sorry. I mean, I'm using, maybe I should use a better term than that, but he was just great on the football field. Man. He was a great running back for sure.
Yeah, man, great stuff. It's hard when you do a Mount Rushmore and there's only four spots.
Yeah, man.
You're going to
Yeah.
leave off some great, great players, but great stuff nonetheless, K Walk. All right, man, great first half hour. We're going to grab a break. When we come back, K Walk's going to take it from here, ladies and gentlemen. More great topics to talk about. You're listening to the Walkthrough with Kevin Walker and Jason Collins on Never Had It So Good Sports Radio. We'll be right back.
Welcome back. Welcome back to the Walkthrough Radio Show with myself, Kevin Walker, alongside Jason Collins, right here on Never Had It So Good Sports Radio. For the break, ladies and gentlemen, the first half was outstanding, Jay. Jay had me doing some math homework over the weekend, man. I mean, great stuff there. But to keep me on my toes, keep my brain working. And at Mount Rushmore, again, ladies and gentlemen, if you missed it, we had our Mount Rushmore running back. So I gave mine, of course. Jay gave his. Hey, put in your comments. I know we missed somebody that you may think is going to be on there. Please don't be shy, and it makes for great debate for sure. Like Jay said, there's only 4 we could put in there, so we're gonna leave somebody out. So don't be shy to tell us how you feel and where your Mount Rushmore is. But great stuff again, Jay. Talking NFL, man, and I want to talk about the battle here that's going on in Steeler land and in Steeler Nation, or whatever they call themselves there. And I'm talking about the quarterback battle there between Mitch Trubisky, Mason Rudolph, and Kenny Pickett. And I say Kenny Pickett was saying that because Kenny Pickett looks like he may be that guy, Jay. It may be the guy. The Steelers fans are calling for Kenny Pickett to be QB1 in Steeler Nation. For sure. He had another outstanding game yesterday, Jay. He went 6 for 7, 76 yards and a touchdown, looked very fluid. He was only 6 for 7 because he had to spike the ball. So, to stop the clock. He could have very well went 7 for 7. He had a great game against the Seahawks in season one, preseason game 1. We went 13 for 15, 95 yards and 2 touchdowns. Mason Rudolph and Mitch Trubisky yesterday, they did okay, Jay. They did okay.
Yeah.
Mitch Trubisky didn't look too good to me. But what say you about this QB battle? And does Kenny Pickett have a legitimate chance to be QB1?
I'll tell you what, K-Walk, it's tough because, like you said, all three guys have kind of played pretty well. Trubisky looked
Mhm.
a little bit, had some moments yesterday that didn't look great. But when you kind of
Right.
look at their numbers from both games, all of their numbers look pretty good. Um, but Kenny Pickett, and I said this last week, man, right from the jump, he looks like somebody who the moment is not too big for. He
Right.
knows where to go with the football. He looks calm. He understands the offense. His arm is live. He's making the throws. So I really love what I've seen out of Kenny Pickett. And to me, if I was making the decision, if it's close, like if you're kind of splitting hairs between all three of these guys, I would give Kenny Pickett the
Yeah.
job because you
Mhm.
know eventually he's going to be your starting quarterback at some point,
Exactly.
whether it's this year or next year. He's going to be the guy. And there's always growing pains when you put a young quarterback in the
Yes.
lineup. So my thing is go ahead and play him now, go through some of those growing pains, and then by next year, you'll have a guy that's all set and ready to go. Whereas
Yeah.
if you wait and hold back on him and then you decide to play him next year, you're kind of starting all over again. So unless those other two guys just really outperform him, which they have not done up to this point,
Right.
I think you got to give Pickett the job, man, and just go through some growing pains. The Steelers aren't going to win the Super Bowl this year anyway. And then next year,
Right.
you've got a guy with a year of experience under his belt that's ready to go.
Yeah, I agree with everything you just said, Jay. And not to mention that, he has a, I mean, I would say he has an okay surrounding cast around him, surrounding cast. They have an okay running game there with Najee Harris. I know some of the receivers are kind of not the no big name guys. I know they lost Juju Smith Schuster to Kansas City, but they still have some decent weapons. And that defense has always been solid, with Mika behind him, obviously, TJ Watt. And not to mention the coaching is always going to be there for them as well, with Mike Tomlin and those guys. So I say, like you mentioned, Jay, they're not favored to win the Super Bowl. They can make some noise in the AFC North. They have a legitimate chance, in my opinion, to win the North. Especially where you don't know
Yeah.
what we're really going to get from Joe Burrow. The Browns, right, are going to be without Deshaun Watson, and then you got the Ravens, of course. But I still think that they're going to be in that mix. Why not give the reins to the young kid? Especially like you mentioned, if it's going to be so close, why not go with the kid that you're going to draft that's going to be your future? Why not do it now? He's going to have some okay veterans behind him. I'm not saying they're great, but they've been there, they've done that, and I don't think they're going to not help him out in any way. So if he's named the quarterback, I think you'll see Mitch Trubisky and Mason Rudolph, step in there and help the young kid out for sure. But I like Kenny Pickett, man. He looks like the real deal, Jay.
Me
He
too.
really does. He looks smooth. You see some of the things that he did last year at the University of Pittsburgh. But yeah, I like the young kid, man, and I think that if he continues to play like this, it's a no brainer to give him that QB1 spot for sure. Speaking of QBs, man, Jay, we seem like we've been talking about this, especially I'm a Niner fan, and we're talking about Jimmy Garoppolo, and right now, no word as far as any trades. 49ers gave him permission to seek a trade partner. Nothing magnified, of course. But Jed York, the owner of the 49ers, has come out and said, listen, we're okay with Jimmy being on the roster. If we're not able to trade him, not able to move him, we're okay with that. But they might be okay with that. I guess that's the right thing to say, Jay. It's a political thing to say. I don't know, but fans, man, I'm saying, like, I don't think it's a good idea. I don't think it's a good idea to have him back on the roster. I mean, it's not a bad backup, but I think with everything they put him through, I don't think it's a good move. I don't think Jimmy's going to be, looking forward to that. But what say you about them? Is it a good move, Jay? Bring them back, or just ultimately just release them if they can't find a trade partner?
I'll tell you what, K. Well, it's a great question because there's a lot of layers to this, right? You can look at it
Yes.
from the standpoint you just mentioned, like they put Jimmy G through a lot. He's probably not happy. He's kind of got some feelings about the organization. So do you really want to bring him back? You can look at it from Trey Lance's standpoint. Like, do you really want your young
Right.
quarterback to have a veteran that's won a lot of games sitting there behind you?
Right.
When you struggle, you know how fans can be.
Right.
So, do you really want that? And then, but I also think there is another side of this too, K Walk, because, and I'll be interested to see what you've heard about this. But some of the stuff I've heard coming out of camp is that Trey Lance has been inconsistent at times. Like sometimes he looks great, and other times he's been inconsistent, hasn't thrown the ball with a ton of accuracy at times. So to me, like if that's true, is having a guy like Jimmy G on the roster a good thing for the organization? Let's say Trey Lance doesn't pan out and you have to turn to Jimmy G. So there's a lot of layers to a K-Walk, but I guess I'll go back to what I thought originally. If Trey Lance is your guy, if you're putting all your eggs in that basket, it's probably best not to have Jimmy G on the roster. So
Right.
a lot of layers to it, but I just hope they're right. I hope they're right, because if they're not right and he struggles, man, you let a guy walk out the door that was going to win you 11, 12, 13 games. So it's tricky, K-Walk. I can't wait to hear what you think about it.
Yeah, Jay. I mean, it all depends on who you're talking about when you talk about, Trey Lance and his accuracy or lack thereof. But you have to understand that he's going against a top 5 defense in all of football, and not only a top 5 defense, but a defense that knows your tendencies, knows Kyle Shanahan's tendencies. They know, they see him every single game. I mean, every single practice, every single day. Because they're going over their same offense, just like they're going over their same defense. Now, yeah, you can say, well, if that's the case, if the defense is understanding what the offense is doing, why can't the offense or Trey Lance not understanding what the defense is trying to do? I understand you can combat it in that aspect. But from what I'm hearing, Jay, I guess again, it all depends on who you're talking about. One game, one practice he'll have a great practice. Next practice he'll have an off practice. He's come out and said that I get that. That's part of what I'm going through. I'm going to have to go through that. But at the same time, again, I can't specify. I mean, I can't emphasize it enough. That's a top 5 defense we're talking about. I mean, that's a legitimate defense that he's going up against. But again, at the same time, he's got to understand that, the more you see him, the more understanding, what they're trying to do to you, what things they're trying to disguise. But I think it's going to help him in the long run for sure. With that being said, and then Jimmy's hasn't practiced with them. He's been on the side just throwing, getting that arm back, get the strength back in his arm. He hasn't been practicing with them at all, Jay. He's just been on the side, just doing his own thing. So if they decide to bring him back, we're talking about keeping him a $26 million deal guy on the table right now. I think if they release him, I think they eat like 13 million. I think, if I'm not mistaken, if I have that number correctly. And then next year, of course, they're looking to extend Nick Bosa. So I don't think they bring the Jimmy back. I think that's something that's you just can't get back. I just think that it's something that Jimmy's been an ultimate professional through this whole ordeal, man. And for him to say, okay, listen, I'm going to go with this girlfriend, but I'm sorry I have to break up with you for this. But she's not what I thought she was, but I want you back. That kind of deal. And I don't just like any real female, I'm not trying to have. You had your choice, you made your choice, now you gotta live with it. So that's what we got. That's what we're dealing with, Jay. But I say no. I think we have to let him go. If we can't find a trade partner, then I think we just release him and eat whatever money that we have to eat for sure, because of the fact of the matter is, I just think it's just going to just cause too much uncomfortableness. There's going to be a lot of tension in that quarterback room, and it may divide the team, the locker room, and in a whole as well, because there are guys out there who still love Jimmy G, and there are guys out there who love Trey Lance. So I say just release him if you can't find a trade partner for sure. So Jed, John, Kyle, if you're listening, man, you guys are already committed to moving on from Jimmy G. So make it complete. Don't just keep him around just to say, okay, I have an insurance policy. Just let him go, and you have to deal with whatever you have to deal with at the end of the day.
And K-Walk, so I'll tell you what, man, that point you made about going up against a great defense, like that's a real point. Like, I don't know if people who haven't played football, or if you're just a casual watcher, like if they really understand that, because in camp, in training camp, going against the offense, after a while, what they're running. Like, man, I remember times going against the offense at Penn State in training camp. I'd see the formation. I'm like, okay, I know this play. And I just be running to where they wanted to go with the football. So it's something you wouldn't do in a real game. but because you know them so well, and that's a great point, man. Number one, he's going up against a great defense, but he's also going up against a defense that knows exactly what they want to do, when they want to do it, where they want to go with the football, and all that does make a difference. So yeah, to the critics who were saying, well, he hasn't looked great, he's been in that, like, you do have to factor all that stuff in, man. That's a great point that I don't know if casual listeners really understand how much that can affect a practice.
Yeah, Jay, and a great point there. I mean, a great point there. And you know that when you go into camp, the defense is always going to be ahead of the offense. It's especially when you're implementing, new schemes and things of that nature. The defense is solid. The defense is already, they're not implementing. They may throw a blitz here or disguise a blitz here, but for the most part, the defense knows exactly what they want to do. And in any and every camp you go to, the defense is always going to be ahead of the offense for sure. So I think that's what Trey Lance is falling into as well. So I'm not concerned with that. I mean, if he can make it look good, I mean, if he has great games or great practices against that defense, then I'm okay with it, because he's rarely going to see a defense like this. He's going to see a couple, but not on a weekly basis for sure. So yeah, I'm not concerned about it, but I am concerned about them if they're really considering keeping Jimmy G. That's my main concern right there. I don't think it's a good move to by any stretch. All right, here what we're going to do is we're going to grab our next break. When we come back, Jay, I want to talk a little bit LeBron, and I want to get into our better worse segment, our who would you take, and also our start bench cut. But I want to talk a little bit LeBron here as well, because he just signed that 2-year extension. I know you and I haven't really got a chance to talk on that. I just want to get your thoughts on the fans for sure. All right, ladies and gentlemen, again, you are tuning to the Walkthrough Radio Show with myself, Kevin Walker, alongside Jason Collins, right here on Never Had It So Good Sports Radio. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Walkthrough Radio Show with myself, Kevin Walker, alongside Jason Collins, right here on Never Had It So Good Sports Radio. Ladies and gentlemen, I just want to just give a quick shout out to Apple and Spotify. For our listeners on the radio, you can definitely catch the replays on Spotify, on Never Had It So Good Sports Media and Radio Network for sure. Just look that up and you'll be able to listen to all shows, not this show, but all the shows as well on that network throughout the week. So yeah, again, Spotify and Apple as well. And for our watchers on YouTube, please hit that subscribe button, hit the likes and throw some comments in there as well. Because we're going to have a great season. We're looking forward to a great season. We're going to have a lot of debates, and that I'm going to say a lot of things that you guys aren't going to agree with. Trust me on that. And then we got, are the Cowboys still America's team? We're going to throw that out, and they're going to be magnified throughout the season for sure. So definitely stay tuned, ladies and gentlemen, and give feedback, as much as you possibly can. All right. That being said, Jay, let's move on to real quick. I want to talk about LeBron James, and we didn't really get a chance to talk about this. I know we kind of touched on it a few weeks back and wondered if he was going to sign that 2-year extension. And I kind of said, I did say, I said that I didn't think he would sign it. I thought he would wait until he went. We'll see where Bronny went, and if he would be drafted or if he would be signed by a particular team. But he surprised me anyway. And he signed that extension, Jay. He signed it before this year. And also it's a 2-year extension, Jay, with the third year being, the second year of that 2-year extension being a player option. So, I have to say one thing, man. I may not believe that LeBron James is the greatest basketball player of all time, but I do believe he's the greatest contract negotiator, and the way he puts himself in situations where he can opt in, opt out anytime he wants to. He's just outstanding when he does that. So KD, if you're listening, hit up LeBron and take some pointers from LeBron. Jay, what say you about him signing this extension?
You said it exactly right, K-Walk. I mean, in terms of contracts, like when to take the long deal, when to take the short deal, he's done it perfectly throughout his career, knowing when to bet on himself, knowing sometimes, hey, like even now, like I'm getting a little older, getting a little closer to the end of my career. Let me go ahead and grab this 2 years and all this money right now. I think he's been super smart in the way that he's handled that. And then too, like when you look at Bronny and him wanting to play with Bronny, I think he's looking at that realistically saying, Bronny's not going to be ready for the NBA right away. He might need a couple of years before that's even going to happen. So I
Yes.
can go ahead and
Mhm.
take this deal. I can opt out if I need to, but it just puts him in a perfect position, man, to be in LA, which is where I think he wants to be. And then he can
Mhm.
reevaluate if Bronny becomes NBA ready. So he's played
Right.
it perfectly, man. Smart
Yeah.
move. Now they just need to get some pieces around him in LA so they have
Yeah.
a decent shot at making a championship run.
Now let me ask you this, Jay. And with that being said, I mean, not to mention, fail to mention that it's 50 million or close to $50 million a year. I mean, no one wants to shy away from that by any stretch. But do you think there was a backdoor deal or inside deal, if you will, that kind of the brass kind of convinced LeBron, said, "Listen, sign this deal. We'll give you saying this, we'll give you saying that." What say you about that?
Yeah, man, I would not be surprised about it at all. I guess you never know with these kinds of things, but I wouldn't be surprised if there was something behind the scenes, a handshake deal, a little wink
Right.
here or there to say, "Hey, man, go ahead and sign this. We'll take care of you. We'll give you what you want, what you need. Hey, if Bronny, depending on what happens with him, maybe we might have a spot for so G League, whatever."
Right.
So
Exactly.
who knows what really went down? But again, I just think LeBron has played all these things perfectly, man.
Yeah, I agree, man. I agree. I mean, it's I mean, just hats off to the way he handled that. And I just don't understand, like, how KD could put himself in a situation like that, and just I don't get it,
It's
man. I don't
almost
get it. But
it's almost embarrassing, isn't it, K Walk? Like
seriously,
how good of a player KD is to
yes,
how poorly some of the decisions that he's made. Like he's an
yes,
A+ player, but he's like a D- in terms of his decision making with
yeah,
contracts and
man.
teammates and all that kind of stuff. It's embarrassing, man.
Yeah, Jay, I'll give him a pass on the 4 year, 4 year deal that he has remaining on his deal with no opt out clause in there, anything like that. But to not have a no trade clause, that's what baffles me about the whole situation, Jay. And then you come
Yeah.
out and demand where you want to go. Like, bro, it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. So yeah, definitely LeBron needs to have a school on how to work contracts. But I'm pretty sure he has that in the works, man, because he's just phenomenal at that. And I can't argue with LeBron from that aspect. He's a great businessman. He's a great business mind, and to be able to facilitate his contracts in that fashion is just outstanding. I can't say enough about that for sure. All right, Jay, let's go back to the NFL talk here, man. And I'm gonna do my our better, worse, or same segment. This is all wide receiver, the wide receiver edition here. I got some good ones for you, I think, because all of these guys, what they have in common is they're playing with a new quarterback. So the quarterbacks that they have this season, they didn't play with them last season, whether they're on the same team or not. They're not playing with the same quarterback. So with that being
Okay.
said, we got Devontae Adams. Devontae Adams last year had 123 receptions, 1,553 yards and 11 touchdowns in Green Bay with Aaron Rodgers. Now he's obviously in Las Vegas alongside his best friend, if you will, Derek Carr. Does he have a better, worse, or same season?
Man, that's a good one because 123 receptions, that's a lot of balls, K
Right.
Walk.
Yes, sir.
I'm gonna kind of sit on the fence here and I'm gonna say he's gonna be better in terms of yards. I think he can eclipse that
Okay.
1,056. I think you said. I think he can eclipse
1,500,
that. I
1,500.
don't know if
Yeah.
he's going to get 123 receptions. So I'm going to give him better for yards, but worse for the receptions.
All right. It was 1,553 yards. If I didn't make that clear, I'm
Oh,
sorry.
1,500. Oh, no, no,
1,500.
no, no.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah, yeah.
going worse. I'm going worse
Okay.
on both
Okay.
accounts. I'm going worse on both
Okay.
accounts then. No, he's gonna be
Yeah, I didn't want you to
he's
be
not
on
gonna
record
get
saying,
those
yeah,
numbers. Yeah, he's not
all right.
getting those
Okay.
numbers, K Walk.
All right, good stuff. Good stuff. All right, next guy is my guy Debo. Obviously he played last season, outstanding season there. Did some things that some receivers didn't do in the history. Played with Jimmy G. We talked about Jimmy G this year. He's going with Trey Lance. He had 77 receptions, 1,405 yards receiving, 6 touchdowns. He had 59 carries, 365 yards. and 8 touchdowns as
Mm.
well. Better, worse, or same season.
Man, those are great numbers. Great
Right.
numbers. The versatility that this guy brings to the table. I'm gonna have to say worse again, K Walk. I think there's gonna be some
Okay.
growing pains with Trey Lance. There's gonna be some timing things that they need to work out early in the year. Think he's still gonna have a great year, but those numbers, man, those are outstanding. I don't think he's gonna repeat that again. I'm gonna say worse.
Yeah, as sad as it hurts me to agree with you, I agree with you. Though I think he'll have a worse season, not so much a bad season, but a worse
Right.
season. All right. Next guy is AJ Brown. Obviously, last year he was with the Titans with Ryan Tannehill. This year he's in Philly with Jalen Hurts. His numbers last year: 63 receptions, 869 yards, and 5 touchdowns. Better, worse, or same season.
I think he can do better than that, K Walk. I don't think either one of these QBs is really going to blow your socks off in terms of how they throw
Right.
the football. But I do feel like he's going to have plenty of opportunities. Kind of, he's got Devontae Smith on the other side, so it'd be hard to double him all the time. So I think he could be slightly better.
Okay, I agree with you there. I'm going to say he's going to be better. I think Jalen Hurts is going to rely on him a little bit more. Um, Not too confident in Jalen Hurts, so that's why I think he's going to go with that big receiver. I think Devontae Smith may have a little of a setback as far as numbers goes this season, but that remains to be seen. All right, next guy we got Jarvis Landry. Last year with the Browns. This year he's in New Orleans with Jameis Winston. Last year with Baker Mayfield, he had 52 receptions, 570 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Better, worse, or same season.
Man, I think I'm gonna say better, K Walk. I mean, this is a guy that can catch 100 balls in his sleep, and so I'm
Mm-hmm.
surprised that he
Right.
only caught like 50 something last year. So I think he'll do better than that this year. As long as Jameis can stay healthy, I think he'll have a
Yeah.
pretty good year. So I'm gonna say better.
Yeah, Jay. I want to say better too, Jay. I'm going to say he's going to have the same because I think that we're going to see a different Michael Thomas. I still think that we're going to see that
That's
not the
true.
old Michael Thomas, but I just think that he's going to be a lot better. He's going to be more downfield. And not to mention the rookie, Chris Aloide from Ohio State. He looks really good too, Jay, in
He's
preseason. So,
fantastic. Yep.
yeah, yes, yes. So I'm going to say he's going to have the same season. I mean, it's not a bad season, but when you have two receivers that I mentioned, that's an okay season to have. In that offense. Especially with Jameis Winston if he can stay healthy, like you mentioned, and also Alvin Kamara coming out the backfield as well. So I'm going to say he'll have the same. All right, last guy here, Jay, is Mr. Tyreek Hill. Obviously, he was with the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes last year. He's going to Miami and Tua Tagovailoa. He said he's more accurate than Patrick Mahomes. Last year, he had 111 receptions, 1,239 yards receiving, and 9 touchdowns. Better, worse, or safe.
Man, I saw Tua's head coach. I can't think of the guy's name, but he said that Tua throws the most accurate, most catchable ball in NFL history. K Walk. So I don't know what's going on down there in Miami, man, but they're seeing stuff that nobody else in the world is seeing. But with that being said, I do think Tyreek is going to have a great year. He's going to have tons of opportunities. They're going to go to him as much as they possibly can. I think he's going to be better, K Walk. I think he's going to be
Okay.
better. I'm going to
Oh
say
wow.
slightly
Okay.
better. Slightly better.
Wow. Okay. Okay. All right. Yeah, man. I don't know about that accuracy thing you mentioned. What's going on down in Miami. I'm just going to say Miami and Scarface, and I what went on in there. Maybe they're dabbling in some of that. I don't know what's going on there, Jay, but I don't see it. But then again, I'm not getting the ball thrown to me, so I'll take their word for it. I'm going to say he'll have the same season, Jay. I think he'll have the same season there. 111 catches is a lot.
That
I
is a
don't know if they're
lot.
going to rely on Tua. That is a lot, right? 9 touchdowns, 1,200 yards. I'm going to say he'll have this same season. I'm going to say at best he'll have the same season. All right, we got a run up on against the clock here, guys. So let's. This is who would you take, real quick, Jay? And this is all Cowboys edition here, as far as who would you take. So you came out on Friday, and we talk about the '90s quarterback, and you had brought up Troy Aikman as being your '90s guy.
Yes.
So I'm with
Yes.
that being said, Jay, I'm going to ask you, who would you take? Troy Aikman or Roger Staubach?
I had a feeling as soon as you said Aikman, Stallback was coming. But for me, like I know Roger the Dodger, like he was the
Roger the
man in
Dodger.
Dallas, but he was before our time, K Walk. So I don't have a lot of great memories of Roger Staubach. I
Okay.
just don't.
All
So
right.
I think I'm gonna stick with Aikman here, man. I'm gonna stick with Troy
Okay.
Aikman.
All right, not bad choice there. All right, this one, man, I don't know, man. I know you're a running back, so in high school, so I'm gonna go Tony Dorsett or Emmett Smith. Who would you take?
Oh, now this is good, man. Because Tony Dorsett, man, my brothers love Tony Dorsett.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously he's a very good running back, but I was never a huge Dorsett fan. I think I'm gonna take Emmett here, man. I know I
Wow.
underrate Emmett at times or rate him less than most people would, but I'm gonna give him
Mm-hmm.
the slight edge over Dorsett, man. Give me Emmett on this one.
Okay. All right, good stuff. All right, next one. We got the late great Tom Landry, or we got Jimmy Johnson. And just keep in
Oh.
mind for our listeners, ladies and gentlemen, they both won 2 Super Bowls. So who you take?
Look, I love Jimmy Johnson. I do. But when you think about the Dallas Cowboys, Tom Landry, I mean, he's Cowboys personified. So I
Yes.
don't think I can pick against Tom Landry here, man. So give me Tom Landry.
All right, all right, good stuff there. All right, let's try to get through this start bitch cut. This is all 49ers, all 49ers edition. So we got Colin Kaepernick, we got Jimmy G, and we got Jeff Garcia. Start bench cut.
That's good. Wow, K Walk. That's really good. Uh Man, because all three of these guys, man, I don't know. That's tough, K Walk. I'm gonna start Jimmy G. I'm gonna start. Well,
Okay.
uh, okay. I'll start Jimmy G. I think I'll start Jimmy G. I'm gonna bench Cap and I'm gonna cut Garcia.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna go with you there, Jay. I'm gonna say the same thing, man. I'm gonna say the same thing. I'm gonna go the same route with you. Start Jimmy, cut Cap. I mean, bench Cap and cut Garcia. I love Jeff Garcia, by the way, and keep in mind.
Me
All right,
too.
this is running back. So okay, we got Frank Gore, we got Roger Craig, and you got Ricky Waters. Ricky running Waters.
Man, that's another good one, K Walk. All three of these guys really, really good running backs. Um, wow. I feel like I need to start Roger Craig, man. The high knees. I just feel like I need
Mm-hmm.
to start him. I'm gonna bench Frank Gore, and I gotta
Mm-hmm.
cut Ricky Running Waters. It's tough though. It's tough.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm gonna go right along with you on that one too. Roger Craig is my favorite running back growing up. We mentioned that on Friday. Frank Gore, he's number 3 on all time on the leading rushing list. Believe it or
Yeah.
not, ladies and gentlemen. Ricky Waters was great in the backfield. He was a receiver in Notre Dame, and he was great. And he won a Super Bowl obviously with the 49ers as well. But I have to cut Ricky Waters. All right, last one here, Jay, is we got defensive lineman. We got the recently inducted to the Hall of Fame. That's Mr. Bryant Young. We got Charles Haley, and we got Fred Dean. Start bench cut.
All right, I'm starting Charles Haley here, man. I just really
Okay.
like him, man. He's crazy,
Mhm.
but I love him. So I'm starting Charles Haley, and then
All
I'm
right.
going to bench Bryant Young.
Yeah.
I will bench Bryant Young. Fred Dean, I'm not sure. No
Okay.
offense to
All right.
Mr. Fred Dean.
That's
I
all
don't
good.
know who
That's
he
all good.
is, K Walk. So I gotta cut him just for that reason alone.
All right, yeah. Fred D was a monster on the coming off of that edge. But I'm agree with you again, Jay. I'm gonna go Charles Haley. He was a monster. 5 Super Bowls between the 49ers and your Cowboys. And Brian Young he was phenomenal, man. I mean, obviously, he was just recently inducted to the Hall of Fame. Fred Dean is, as a fan, I guess you have to be a fan of the 49ers to know exactly who he is. So even that being said, I'm still going to cut Fred Dean. All right, great stuff
Okay,
there,
Walk,
guys.
is
All right,
he
Randall.
when did Fred Dean play? Is he Current, former, like what era
Nah,
was
he
that?
was Fred. No, Fred Dean was he was old school guy. He was like 70s, 60s,
Okay,
70s
okay.
around there.
So
Yeah,
I don't
so that
feel
era.
bad for not knowing it.
Yeah,
Okay.
nah, exactly. I was gonna say, unless you're a diehard 49er fan, you wouldn't really know who he was, or just a historian and all together. But yeah, definitely nothing recent for sure. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we ran a little overtime there, so definitely worth it. So great stuff there, Jay, as always. As always do, I want to leave you guys with something. I'll leave you with this today. If you are not willing to learn, no one can help you. If you are determined to learn, no one can stop you. For Jason Collins, I am Kevin Walker on the Walkthrough Radio Show. God willing, talk to you next week.